Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ahmed, and now for PHP series we have to cover variable scope and constants. So let's further understand what this slide will cover. First of all, we have to understand the scope of normal variables. Then we will cover the global keyword followed by the globals superarray available in PHP, and then we will see how constants are declared and finally we'll look at how other external files can be included into any script using the include and require functions. So let's go directly to our browser, and we have our notepad file over here ready and everything seems to be set. So now first of all, in the last lecture we just saw that how functions can be used and how functions are declared, our own user-defined functions, and how values can be passed to them and how values can be returned from them. So now very quickly we will create a variable, and let's give this variable a value of 100. Now we will create a function, just as test function, and below this function we will call it, and over here first of all let's echo the value of num. Notice that this function is empty even though this is called, but nothing will happen because it is empty. Save it, load it in Firefox. 100 is printed because of this line. Okay, now let's move this line from outside of this function to inside this function. This is normal for all of you who have worked in C language, that creating functions creating variables outside function creates basically a global variable. Global variables are accessible throughout that program and even in functions. So let's save it, go to this browser, refresh it. It's giving me an error. This is a different case in PHP. In PHP it is telling me that this is an undefined variable, whereas I think I have already defined it. The reason that this is giving me an error is because PHP does not by default include variables declared in global perspective to be accessible in variables in functions. So what can I do to make this work? Well, just as we saw that we can pass this variable, that's not a big deal. We can pass this variable over here and print it, and giving me an error that is undeclared. Yeah, sorry, of course num is the variable outside this function. Refresh it. Now it's giving me a value of 100, but wait, I have to also change the value. I have to update this value, so that's not not a problem. We can simply update this value inside the function and return it, return $n. And over here what we can do is either we can reassign it or directly echo it. So I'm reassigning it. Save, go here, refresh it, 101. So it's working, and this is, out of all the ways I will be teaching you, this is the best way to do things. But there are other options available in PHP, and because they are being practiced, so you should have an idea. So what over here what I did is that I gave this as an argument, let it change inside this function, and when it is returned I am updating the same variable. So effectively the same variable is changing for me. There's another option, that what if I don't want to do this? Okay, now there's another possibility. Of course this is giving me an error. We just saw that this will give me an error, but if I can use this keyword, global keyword, you see the color immediately changed with that offer keyword, a global keyword, and give this its argument. Basically what this will do is that by default global variables are prevented from being accessible in of any function, user defined function. So I am forcefully telling it to include this global variable inside this test function. Save it over here, and we can simply save and echo and refresh. So you see that this value is now updating. Again, this keyword, what it will do, it is forcefully requesting PHP to make sure that num is accessible in this function. As it is accessible now, updating the value is effectively updating this itself. This is basically the same variable, not a copy of that variable. So this is one way of achieving the same thing that we did earlier. I'm teaching you how variable scopes are working in PHP. There is another way, and that is to use the globals array, super array. So this is how this array is written, globals, and basically what this array is, I don't have to declare this array. This array exists, and it will automatically be filled by all the variables that were available to this script in global perspective. So again, I don't have to declare it, it's just available to me, and I can simply do this, save it, go over here, refresh it, the same result. Global variable is accessible to us. So let's try one more thing. We did use this function earlier and this is a defined function to show us all the to print an array. So I'm printing this array. I just said that globals array is available, so let's print its values. And so to avoid confusion, let's comment this line, refresh it. So as you can see over here, what it is giving me, let's make it more user friendly by now it's more readable. Let me zoom in further. So it's an array, okay, it has globals, recursion, of course. Let's skip this part. So it is telling me that there are more arrays available in this. We'll cover this part later. But hey, look over here. We have a variable named num and its value is 100. This is exactly what I was accessing over here. We can also, what if I declare another number, give it a value of 1, it will also be available now. You see? So using this global array, I can directly access any global variable without even using the global keyword and telling that function to automatically pull or make it accessible for me. So this is how globals are available in global variables can be accessed in PHP functions. Now moving forward, as we said that after covering the normal scope of variables, we'll cover global, then global array. Now it's time for declaring constants. So for constants, a constant is basically the opposite of variable, very close to it, but a variable is anything that will vary to the program or that can vary in the execution of a program. Its value can change. But what if I don't want the value to be changed? I want the value to be fixed. So instead of creating let's get rid of all of this. Okay, so for instance, I need to declare this is a function I need, and throughout the program I want my name to be printed on different aspects of the website. For instance, at the bottom, the author's name, owner of the website, I want this name to be printed. So I'm putting it in a variable so that I can change it for next execution. For instance, I want my name to be printed like this. But of course, I never want my name to be updated in the program. For instance, mistakenly this variable is changed or some other user changes this value. So of course that's a problem for me. So this is addressed by defining a constant. A constant is declared by convention in capital. Save it, refresh it over here, and now if I can see, my name is printing. Now let me explain it one more time. This is a declaration of a constant. Basically a constant is being defined. What's the name of the constant? This is the name of the constant. By convention it is always in capital letters. Of course that is just a convention. And this is the value of that convention, of this constant, this particular constant. Once declared, defined, this can never be updated. For instance, if I try to update my name in the execution of the program, it will give me an error. Okay, so similarly, what if I copy this value again and change it over here again? So it is telling me that constant my name is already defined, so this value will never be updated and it's safe to use in this program. Another difference between a variable and a constant is that with constant we never use a dollar sign, and with with constant we never use a dollar sign, and with variables we always use a constant sign. For instance, mistakenly I forget to mention the dollar sign with this variable. Let's save it, go over here and refresh it. Okay, and what it is telling me, it is giving me the same error, that this is unexpected. It is thinking of num as a constant. This is the same error that I was getting earlier. Okay, now this covered. Now let's go to the last part of this tutorial, and that was the include and require functions. Very handy stuff. Let's go to the folder, and in this folder let's create another file. Okay, and I'll call this file functions.php. Open it up in text editor, and so this is what I want. I've created a function, simple function with the name welcome, and I just want it to accept a name from its calling method line, and the name passed will be shown as a welcome message. Over here, what I will do is now I need to call that function. Of course, first of all, understand why we need this type of approach. For creating a big program, we need, for instance, this function to be accessible throughout our program. So it won't be possible for us to create a copy of this, just copy these lines and paste it in this file, then the next file, then the next file, and then the next file. So the best approach is to create it once and include it in this function. So including is simple. All I need to do is include, and either using the brackets or simply by using the quotes, I can give the name of that file, and I can simply call the function now. Don't need this. Save, and go over here and refresh. So see, welcome Ahmed. So what it is doing is, basically, when this page will be interpreted by PHP, it will, when this line is encountered, it is telling PHP parser that include this script also. So it will go include this part, this whole code as part of this script, and then when this is included, so in other words this function is locally available over here and I'm calling this function. Another thing important is that I don't only have to mention functions over here, I can do anything. For instance, I can print n over here and do this stuff. Go back, refresh, and see what's happening. Yes, of course. See, now what's happening over here? Ahmed has been printed. I have declared Ahmed over here and I am printing it over in this file. So basically what I wanted to show you that variables have files included using include or require functions are accessible. Variables available in these files are accessible to the other file also. So it is just treating it as a local one. Okay, now the other was require. Let's replace it with require, refresh it, same result, nothing happened. So but there's a difference. If I use include and for instance I misspell it to function.php, refresh it, this is a warning, fail to open stream, no such file or directory found. And if I change it to require, go over here, refresh it, there's a different kind of error message that it was unable to open the stream. But require and include, basically require is a much stricter version than the include one, otherwise both work the same way. So this is also possible that for instance I have required or included this page and this page further includes another page. So there is another variant that require once and include once. So what this will do, these are basically better performance, they have a better performance as compared to the simple include and require functions, and they will make sure that this function is only included once, not multiple times. So this is how variable scopes work in PHP.